Man, what's up with the what's up? It's your boy Tyrone Hunter back in the building with another edition of What's Really Good Entertainment. If you're checking in for the first time, make sure you hit the like button on the way in the door. Make sure you hit the subscribe button on the way out the door. If you've been rocking with the channel, I appreciate you. I'm going to keep bringing you that 5. So, today's topic of discussion is parole supervision. And is it a setup? Now, I know a lot of, people, especially from the hood or certain neighborhoods, they got arrested, they went to prison, they came home with post-release supervision. If you go to federal prison, you come out, you in a halfway house. Some people get probation, it varies from person to person, but parole and post-release supervision is simply after you serve a sentence in prison, you come home and you have to report to an agency, which is called a parole officer or a supervisor, and you have special conditions. Is this a setup? This is what we're going to be discussing today. You don't necessarily have to be somebody that been to jail or into going to jail. It's just so you can understand if somebody that you know, a relative or a loved one, is on parole supervision and you always had questions about it, as well as if you want to understand why some people that go to jail, they keep going back and forth to jail. So if you want to know more about this topic, man, make sure you stay to the end of the video, because this one is going to get spicy. So let's get right into it. So I myself personally never seen this subject covered on YouTube before. I never heard of it being spoken about, but it's definitely something important. It's definitely something that, again, if you on parole supervision, if you're not on parole supervision, if you had questions about it, if you was curious about it, this is the what to the what to the what. How does it work? Okay, somebody goes to prison and they get a sentence. After they finish serving a sentence and they're released from prison, they're on something what's called parole supervision or post-release supervision. Different states, they may call it different things. In New York, it's parole supervision or post-release supervision. Depending on when you got locked up in New York, you can have regular parole supervision or you can have post-release supervision, which is a mandatory time of 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, etc. I myself personally think that parole is a setup, and let me tell you why. So for one, I think you're being penalized twice for the same crime. You go to prison, you serve a sentence, then when you come home, you have to report to somebody, which is a parole officer, and if you violate the conditions of your parole, you could be sent back to prison to do additional time. How is that fair? And let's get into the parole release. Let's get into the parole conditions, right? Most parole conditions state that you have a 9 o'clock curfew. This means that 9 o'clock every night you have to be in your house. You cannot go out after that. It's going to be considered a violation and you could be sent back to prison. You cannot leave your house before 7 o'clock in the morning. If you leave your house before 7 o'clock in the morning, you can be sent back to jail on what's called a violation. You're not allowed to associate with any ex-felons. If it's found out that you hung around any ex-felons or spoke to any ex-felons, you can go back to prison. Now, that's one of the, even though the other conditions I don't like, but this one right here specifically, the reason why is one of the reasons why I feel parole is a setup is because if you come from the hood or you come from certain inner city neighborhoods or neighborhoods where a lot of people that went back and forth to jail, you can have relatives in your family that went to jail 20 years ago. It could be your uncle, it could be your brother, it could be, any sort of relative, it could be a friend. And you socializing with them. parole can send you back to jail. Now, do they violate people for that all the time? No. I think they more, into my experience, they more violate people that are dealing with people that are kind of active in the streets and have recent felonies or whatever. But the fact remains is that if they want to violate you and send you back to jail, they could send you back to jail and violate you for that. Another condition is you can't drink alcohol and you can't do any drugs. If you drink alcohol, which is legal, if you do any drugs, which is your choice, you could be sent back to prison. Now, help me understand how, if somebody likes to drink alcohol, which is legal, you could go to the store and get it. Why is it a condition of your release that if you drink alcohol, you can go back to jail? Or if you do drugs, marijuana is legal now. I don't know if parole conditions state that, pretty much it's acceptable right now or not, but I do know that any use of drugs, you can be sent back to prison. Now, again, you already served your time in prison. You're back in the free world. You're back in the free society. Why is it they're able to dictate whether or not you can have a drink if you want to drink? If you want to smoke a little marijuana, weed, live bag, whatever they call it. Why is it if you would like to indulge, which is your right to do, that you can go back to prison? They have another condition, say you can't hang out with any known gang members. Come on. Almost every hood in America have gang members. A lot of jobs that you work at, that you could get if you're on parole, it has gang members. You're going to pass gang members all the time. So if somebody asks you for a light and you get them a light and they're a gang member, parole finds out, you could get sent back to jail. Another thing, they say you have to find a job within a certain amount of time and you have to pay certain dues, certain monthly dues to parole, which means you have to pay to be on supervision. If you don't do that, you could go back to jail. This is crazy. And these are just some of the conditions that parole have you under. Now, if anybody was wondering why, they relative that been in jail have to be at a house at a certain time, why they can't be hanging out with the family or friends, have a little drink, why they can't go around and be around, certain places and certain people, why they may be frustrated, with the conditions that they dealing with. Well, this is why. Because parole conditions are designed, in my opinion, to treat people like they're kids, to treat people like, they're babies, to take away their ability, to be able to get back into their groove of life after they just finished serving a sentence. They say it's to help rehabilitate. They say it's to help people reintegrate back into society or acclimate them with following rules. Well, I don't think y'all realize and understand what goes on in prison and, how hard it is to make it out of prison. And once a person get out of prison, to put this kind of pressure on them, that makes them still feel that they're in prison. This is one of the main reasons why a lot of people break those conditions, wind up getting a parole violation and wind up going back to prison or, possibly and potentially catching a new charge. The system is not really designed, for the prison system and parole system. It's not designed for individuals to win. So if you ever find yourself getting arrested for a crime and you're going to go to prison, well, realize these are some of the conditions that you're going to have to deal with. And if you violate those conditions, then pretty much you're going back to jail. Prison and the criminal justice system, meaning getting locked up, going to court, being on probation. Once you start off in that system, in that cycle, it's kind of hard to get out of that cycle. So do yourself a favor and to the best of your ability, try to stay, free and clear from committing crimes, going to jail, having to be on parole, so forth and so on. Because it ain't cool, man. And prison, you know, that definitely ain't cool. I don't really talk about the prison much. You got a lot of people that talk about the prison stories. You know, it's not a cool situation. So, you know, to my ladies and to my gentlemen out there in society, if you have parole, listen, I feel for you. I know how hard it is. I'm talking about life is so difficult when you on parole. I was on parole. I don't think I followed too many of the rules, but some way, somehow I made it on parole because I had the mindset that I was going to do what it is that I wanted to do. And I did so in a way where I didn't get caught up in doing anything that I wasn't supposed to do. So that's the long and short of that. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you want to understand more about, you know, parole and, you know, how it works, what it is, what it isn't, you have any personal experience that you would like to share, put that down in the comment section. And again, thank you for watching the video. I'm going to start giving more information about, you know, a whole lot of different things. It's for educational purposes because it's a lot of things that people don't understand, but it affects us day to day. So with that being said, it's your boy Tyrone Hunter. That's another edition of What's Really Good Entertainment. I'm on the move, I'm on the groove, and I'm going to catch up to y'all on another occasion. Until then, stay blessed without stress. Yiddy.